You ever wondered how we are to respond to an angry ruler, perhaps an angry boss, angry manager, angry government leaders? Well, listen, we live in interesting times in the United States and in countries all around the world. A time when governments who once served its people now expect its people to serve them. Much of the corporate world is not much different. Today I'm going to show you that when your boss, your king, your president, or governmental body become angry with you, your people group, or even as a nation, God instructs us through King Solomon just how we are to respond, and that's what we're going to look at today. Let's get started. Welcome back to Reason for Truth, everybody. Reason for Truth, you know where the truth comes first, reasons come last, but we're always and constantly learning. Because we stop learning, we stop teaching, or at least stop teaching well, or certainly uninformed. We don't want to be uninformed or improperly informed, so let's do it right. That's what we do here on this channel. A big part of answering today's question can be found in the counsel or by the counsel of King Solomon, Ecclesiastes 10:4, which says, "If the anger of the ruler rises against you, do not leave your place, for calmness will lay great offense to rest." This begs the question as to what exactly does Solomon mean by the remaining calm in the storms, right, of life, or in the angry with your angry boss or governmental leader. What are you to do? Well, let's break this down. First, Ecclesiastes is part of what we call wisdom literature, meaning that it's wise counsel. It's not dogmatic if A, then B. You have to understand that's wisdom literature in general. It's Proverbs, that's Psalms, Ecclesiastes, Song of Songs, all called what we call wisdom literature. So that's first. Second, this passage assumes a few things. First, Solomon assumes that we are currently, or maybe in the future, dealing with an angry government or authoritative person or body. Second, Solomon points out that his counsel is referring to an angry ruler who rises up against you as a person, personally, or possibly as a body, right? Such as the Jewish nation or Christians or any kind of people group, any kind of national or individual person or persons. It's two. Third, listen, Solomon gives us an if scenario, then do be. This is where the logic gets a little, comes into play. I point this out because it shows the logical, orderly counsel of the Lord flowing through Solomon, right? Solomon's clear here that when the if is presented, then would be wise to do as God instructs. I think it's true of the Bible in general. In this case, God says through Solomon, do not leave your place, but remain calm. That's important. I think that's just the whole answer to today's question. Putting it all together, looking back at previous verses, chapter 10, 1-3, that qualet means preacher. That's what the Bible calls him, actually, in the original language. Solomon points out, as the qualet, out of the stark differences between the wise man and the fool. In other words, the fool will not act calm or in control, but act out of his or her emotions like a child. We are not to act as a foolish child, but as a wise adult. So how do we do this? Well, in verse 4 and 5, Solomon makes the simple monolithic point that conciliation pacifies. In other words, Solomon's wise counsel is advice to us for just how that's you and I, ought to respond or to deal with difficult supervisors or perhaps a king, which we all do. We all have that in our lives at one point or the other. So Solomon points out that difficult leaders themselves can limit wisdom or wisdom's benefits through their foolish actions. When, not if, we encounter an angry boss or governmental leader or ruler, the best thing we could do, or as a wise person, a wise woman or man, we can do is to quell their anger with composure and calmness. And don't panic and in retreat, verse 4. This is pretty simple. Listen, when things seem people get out of control, my wife told me when I first got married, address the issue, not the person. That's a huge deal. You see people get passionate. Someone sent me an email not long ago. They said, I don't like your tone in front of all these people. The last person said that was my mother on a group email. Well, listen, I don't know how you get a tone out of an email. I didn't say anything to you. So that's an emotional response. I just responded back. Here are the facts. You make your mind up as to what the truth is and what's not the truth. All right? That's just the way it goes. In closing, let's keep in mind that when, not if, we encounter a foolish boss, a manager, a leader, or a coworker, listen, The wise man or woman should not be surprised by the foolish ruler's actions. That ruler doesn't have to be a king. It could be someone in authority anywhere in your organization. All too often, instead of promoting those who deserve the promotion, the rich in this certainly verse is probably, or in substitution, is speaking of the wise. A ruler will often promote those who don't deserve to be promoted. How often have you seen that? Or, as the Bible says, undeserving fools to exalted places, verses 5 to 6. And in the end, such foolish management has dire consequences for the organization and the person themselves and the people that they affect. And at some point, this leads to corporate decay or organizational decay, the decay of a nation, and certainly families and people, right? The decay and a failure or societal upheaval, verse 7. This, by the way, is how we went from a governmental body who once served its people to one now who expects its people to serve them. So let's remember that when a boss, a king, or a governmental body becomes angry with us, that we as an individual, or people group, or even as a nation are to remain composed and calm. This Proverbs, by the way, is very similar to many ancient sayings that we used formerly to train couriers and diplomats in biblical times. All right, this same is a famous saying. So Solomon is counseling here that you and I today, as diplomats of who? God, through Jesus Christ, how you and I can stop corporate, societal, and governing rulers from being angry. Remain calm. Put on a smile. Trust God. Say what you have to say and stand for the truth at the same time, but do so calmly. Remember, I like 2 Timothy 1:7 says, "For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control." That's self-control. And then Isaiah 41 says, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Isaiah 41:10. Listen, while we live in interesting times when a government and corporate leaders who once served its people expects us to serve them, God provides us with direction as to how to respond. Listen, all this is temporal, by the way. One day we're all going to have to answer for being a servant or being the master, right? Human master, the ruler. When your boss, your king, your president, or your governmental body becomes angry with you, listen, God gives us the answer as to how to respond through King Solomon, just how we can respond rightly through Ecclesiastes 10:4. Which says, "If the anger of the ruler rises against you, do not leave your place, for calmness will lay great offenses to rest." That's a lot of wisdom there. It's God's wisdom. Let's make sure to relax a bit more, trust that God is in control, and make sure that our responses are not emotional, but focused on the issue, not on the person. God will take care of the rest. So God's blessings to you. Listen, thank you for tuning in. Let's make sure we put this to practice in our life daily. I think this will quell a lot of the anxiety we have. We're not in control of the world. God's in control of this world. We're in control of the small battles he gives us to fight within that world. Some people are given bigger battles than others. Whatever the size of your battle, it's exactly the same in God's eyes as the bigger battles, right? Because God just equips you and gives you those talents to do so. So listen, that being said, let's make sure we try to do that, be in prayer, ask God for peace in our spirit. And then listen, make sure you do a couple things. Like it, subscribe this bad. If you like it, and if you like this, it's going to help us book up some algorithms, get more downloads, listeners, watchers, and also make sure you subscribe to this channel. Don't leave without doing that. If you're on video, hit the alert bell. And listen, before you go, join my community, StephenGarofalo.com. You're going to get a lot of good stuff over there, exclusive articles and many other things. I'll see you over there at the community. I am your host, Stephen Garofalo, and this is your Reason for Truth for today.